Greetings and welcome to Shihlobo as we bring you another powerful message by Bishop Mosa Sono.
All things are possible to them that believe. To them that believe.
I want to talk about the God who restores lost years and broken dreams. Our main text is Joel chapter 2 from verse 21, and we read the King James Version Bible. Fear not, O land, be glad and rejoice, for the Lord will do great things. Be not afraid, ye beasts of the field, for the pastures of the wilderness do spring. For the tree bears her fruit, and the fig tree, the vine, do yield their strength. Be glad then, ye children of Zion, and rejoice in the Lord your God. For he has given you the former rain moderately, and he will cause to come down for you the rain, the former rain and the latter rain in the first month. And the floors shall be full of wheat, and the vats shall overflow with wine and oil. Look at the neighbor and say, overflow. Look at the neighbor and say, kuzochicima. Look at them and say, overflow. Then he says, and I will restore to you the years that the locust has eaten, and the cankerworm and the palmer worm, my great army which I send among you, and you shall eat in plenty. Tell your neighbor, I see plenty coming your way. It says, and you shall eat in plenty and be satisfied, and praise the name of the Lord your God, that has dealt wondrously with you. My people shall never be ashamed. This particular text is a powerful text that I think gives the setting and the backdrop for the topic of restoration. God's people had come through a period where their fields were invaded and eaten by different types of locusts. And locusts who came in their different cycles of development. The cankerworm, caterpillar, it's a locust in a different cycle of development. But these locusts, when they came onto the field, they literally destroyed the field. In Soweto, we will say, it ravaged. It ravaged or ravaged the field. Ravaged the field to a point that there was nothing to show for the effort. Because there's times in our lives when the enemy comes in like that. With all the hard work and all the praying and all the efforts, but there's nothing to show for it. And God says to his people, don't worry, I will restore. And I will restore to a point that you will eat in plenty, verse 25. And you will be satisfied, and you will overflow. The Bible in basic English says, I will give back to you. What? The years which the food locusts are eating. Sometimes, you work for such a long time, and in a split second, they are ravaziwa. And all the efforts of many years are gone in a split second. And God said, I'm aware of it. I'm aware of your effort. I will restore. I will give back. In the Lexham English Bible, that verse 25, God says, I will repay you. So God's going to restore. He's going to give back. He's going to repay. The New English translation, he says, I will make up. When God makes up. Sometimes when you are en route, maybe flying to another country, sometimes the planes delay in taking off. And usually if it's on a long trip, Once you get airborne and you hear the pilot say, we will make up for the lost time. In other words, if they were supposed to fly, and I'm just using it figuratively, at 800 kilometers per hour, but because of lost time now, they put it at 1,000 kilometers per hour, just to make up. I see God making up in your life. God says, I will restore. This is a powerful truth, that our God is able to restore, He's able to redeem. And this transcends our human limitations. It's a truth that often challenges the way we think about life, the way we think about time, the way we think about the nature of loss. See, we as human beings, our life is bound in a world of clocks and calendars and time. It's a life that's locked in. There's the passing of time. There's the passing of the clock. And so things happen and things get lost and we experience difficulty. And because time has passed, we process what we see through our mindset of being people locked in time. And so the world sometimes insists that what is lost forever. And that we have this problem called time, which is a relentless master. And time is moving forward. Because time is moving forward with no regard to your regrets, your mistakes, your missteps. Time is moving forward. It doesn't care if you've done something wrong. It doesn't wait for you to fix. It keeps moving on. And so sometimes we look at our times when things didn't go well and we frame them within those confines of human limitations, forgetting one thing. The God who made you, who created you, doesn't live within the confines of time. Let me quote Dr. Miles Monroe, not verbatim, but the concept. God was there before time was. God was there before the beginning was the beginning. And God will be there at the end of time. And at the end of the end, God will be on the other side of the end. In fact, before the beginning began, He was there. And before the end ended, He is there. That is why we call Him the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. That's why in your life He is called the author and the finisher of your faith, because God is this side of your life and He's on the other side of your life. In fact, God determines the end before the beginning. And before He begins, He finishes it. And when He starts it, it's because it's finished. So when God brings you into the world, He has already established that you're going to be more than a conqueror. So when things go wrong in your life, God doesn't panic because He knows how the story is going to end. Am I preaching to somebody in the house? God knows how the story is going to end. And so when we pray and we're panicking and we're going through problems, it sometimes baffles our mind that God doesn't say anything. Paul says, I have this messenger of the devil who's attacking me. And what complain? 3 times I sought the Lord. 3 times I said, God, Munna, take away this thing. And instead of God taking away this thing, God just looks at me and says, my grace is sufficient for you. I'm here to tell somebody this side, God's grace is sufficient for you because God was there before your problem was a problem, and God knows how everything is going to end. But unfortunately, we live within the confines of time. And these confines of time tells us that everything is fixed. And nothing can alter what has transpired. Time tells us that the past is a closed book. But God comes to us and says, listen, I have sovereignty over time. And nothing in circumstances is beyond my ability to renew and my ability to restore, because I've got mastery over time. I created time. Time won't control me. I will control time. And if things don't go right, and nako ya go feta, don't worry, I will buy back the time that is lost, and I will pay back, and I will restore. If you worked hard and it looks like all your efforts have been taken away from you, don't worry, I'm going to buy it back, and I'm going to restore. God says the past is not a closed book. I hold all of time. The past, the present, the future is in my hands, God says. So when he promises restoration, he is not limited by what we perceive as irretrievable. In fact, when he comes and restores, he doesn't compensate for what is lost. He redeems. And when he redeems it in a way that is infinitely greater than you could imagine. When you thought it will never get better, when you thought it can never be as good as it was, God comes and baffles your mind and does something bigger and greater than what you saw. Because in divine restoration, God doesn't patch up what was broken. He creates something new. I see something new for you in 2025. You see, I'm prophesying and you're not saying amen. I said, I see something glorious for you in 2025. You see that word restoration in the Bible? God uses it and it reveals many things about what God does when he restores. The Hebrew word has several connotations. Several of them. Let me go through them. One, it means to be completed. To be completed. So if you started anything in 2024 and ayafela, God says, ungawari. One day is one day. Lizophela. You know, over time, I've come to appreciate the concept of completing. I've lived long enough to realize that not everything that gets started gets completed. Whether it's building, whether it's people's destiny in life, whether it's relationships, I've come to appreciate that when you complete, umbongo uNkulunkulu. Ngoba baningi abantu baqalile kodwa abafiki la. I've said it more than once, Bazalana, without trying to say I'm better than anybody. You know, I read a book, Stephen Farrar. If you don't have the book, I suggest you get it. The author's name is Stephen Farrar. It's entitled Finishing Strong. And the opening chapters of this book are heart-rending. Stephen Farrar says, as a young preacher, he approached, I don't know if it was his dad or some older minister, I don't remember who it was, but it was someone who had been in ministry for long. And as a young preacher, he said to me, what is the one secret that you'll tell me as a young minister when it comes to ministry? And this older man said, finish strong. And he said, what do you mean? And the older man said this. All the people I started with ministry when we were in our 20s, now in my 60s, of the 10 people we started with, there's only 2 of us who are lost, who are still there. He says, you know, I took this man seriously. And when we still used Bibles, Kaurelonali used an e-Bible. The e-Bible. He said, I took my big Bible and at the back of it, I wrote down all the names of the people that we were in ministry with at that time. When I read that book, I went back. When I was in Bible school, when I was doing first year, we were a class of 250. So I went to 2 Bible schools. I went to AFM and I went to Rhema. This, the one I'm talking about is the one at Rhema. There were 250 of us in Bible school. Today, and all of us said God called us. All of us, we went to Bible school because we're going into ministry. All of us had visions. And you know what intrigues me the most, Basalana? Can I tell you? Can I? Oh, Alabat. Well, can I tell you? Why are you not carabing me? The thing that amazed me the most is that there were people, when we were at school, who were so talented. So talented. They were better preachers, better organizers. They were more communicative. They had communication skills, organizational skills. They stood out. I mean, they were the ones, you know. And even when we started, they were the ones who had opportunities, had money, had connections, everything. And you know, when you're always the last, are you understanding what I'm saying? When it has a way of preaching to you what's not correct. So, Stephen Farrar says, as I got into my 60s, of the 45 names, I don't remember I think 45, 50 names that he had written at the back of his Bible when he was in his 20s, when he looked at that list when he was in his 60s, there were only 5 left. Yeah. In our school, 250 of us, there's less than 20 of us in ministry today. Yeah. But Alana, it's not about starting. It's about finishing. When I do leadership seminars for pastors, one of the sessions that I deal with, I've entitled it, How to Have Staying Power. Most people don't have staying power. That's why the Bible says the race is not for the swift. And the war is not for the strong. Let me change it a bit. It's for those who have staying power. It's not about the advantages you had sometimes. Not even about the connections. It's not even about the resources you had. You may struggle when you start. You may not be liked. Nobody may look in your direction. You may never be one who gets chosen. You may never be the one. You know, today we live in a world where to be recognized. Or you want me to rephrase it? You must be chacharach. You must be in your face for people to recognize you. We no longer value depth of character. We're not attracted to quiet people, sober people who have depth of commitment. They may not be eloquent. They may not even look the greatest. Sometimes some people, even the way they groom themselves, it's not very attractive. But we evaluate based on outward appearance and on being chacharach. It's worse when you're not chacharach and you can't even groom yourself properly. Nobody wants you. But if you look at those people, follow them, watch them 20 years later. Oh, you don't like my sermon. You see now, you don't like my sermon. I thought you wanted me to preach the truth to you. You don't want me to. Now. I didn't say don't groom yourself. That's not what I said. And I didn't say don't be chacharach. Be chacharach as much as you want to be. But at the same time, have staying power. Have staying power. So I've come to appreciate when you are able to complete. That's why I started with this chacharag business. Because I've come to realize not everybody who starts a church is there 10 years later. Yeah. I've come to appreciate that not everybody who starts a business is there. Now, your business may go through struggles. Your church may go through struggles. Your marriage may go through struggles. Your career may go through struggles. Maroksalayo, you are still there. You are bruised. You are battered. There are times when you were wondering, why did I do this? Why did I get on this? There are times when you wanted to give up, but you didn't. You wanted to give up, but you still did not. There are times when you didn't even know what to say to God when you pray. But you are still there. I come to realize in this life, it is those who have staying power. That's why God is the author and the finisher. God finishes. The Bible talks about finishing. Jesus said, God, Father, I have finished the work that you gave me. Paul says, I have run the race. I have finished my cause. It's a grace to finish. God says, I will restore my son, I will restore my daughter. I'll help you to finish. When I'm forward to keep ilobola half, I'm forward. You want to get 2025. Am I talking to somebody who's you enrolled on a particular course. You are not finishing, or so let's take a few modules, 3 modules, and it's been 3 years. God says, 2025, you will graduate, you'll finish. You're finished. So when God restores, He helps you to complete, to finish. It also means to make prosper. That word restore means to make prosper. That's another thing I've come to realize, Kuri. Success is not easy. Because sometimes you can have all the right ingredients, press all the right keys, do all the right planning and still be a dismal failure. Do all the strategic planning, the long term, short term, whatever goals. Have all the consultants who talk to you, empower your document, do everything, and still doesn't work. That's why you note in the world people today, but they don't mind. They go to get some ngoma somewhere to succeed. Either Baba Paya or Rabanwa something or Rabatsasa something. Or some of them go so far as to make a pact with the devil and sell their soul. Yeah. But God says, no, you don't need to. This book of the law shall not depart out of your mouth. But thou shalt meditate therein day and night, that you may observe to do what is according to all that is written therein. For then thou shalt make thy way prosperous, and then thou shalt have good success. Blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor stand in the way of sinners, nor sit in the seat of the scornful. But his delight is in the law of the Lord, and in his law does he meditate day and night. He shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water, that bringeth forth his fruit in its season. His leaf also shall not wither, and whatsoever he doeth, shall prosper. uNkulunkulu uthi there's no need ukhokha imali mntanami, mina nginaso isibusiso phezu kwakho. You will succeed. Do you believe that? Do you believe that? God says you will succeed because of my presence. Because of my presence in your life. That's why when we succeed, it's like you go to batting. Because bona ba tseba gore success ya bona e tswa go dinogeng. To iphuma ku Jehova. uNkulunkulu wethu, uEl Shaddai, pray. The God who's the author and the finisher of our faith. Who's above all other gods. The great God that we worship. Makabeki isandla phezu kwakho. Uyaphumelela. Not because you have all the knowledge in the world, not because you have all the evidence, the excitement, or all the intelligence in the world. Sometimes, you don't know how. Now you can understand. That's why when you succeed, you don't pat yourself on the back. Now you fall on your knees and you raise your hands to God. You don't have to anybody. You don't have to thank anybody. You thank God, the creator of heaven and earth. You remember when they analyzed you and they said you'll never go anywhere. You remember when they wrote articles about you and they gave you a sell-by date. You remember when all the professionals and all the knowledgeable people and all the analysts were talking about you and they said it's not going to happen. You remember that day when people were giving you a sell-by date, when someone told you, who do you think you are? You remember that day when you yourself were wondering in your mind, will this work? But uNkulunkulu ukuniki staying power. Here you are today. And so when it works, you don't thank yourself. When it works, you don't pat yourself on the back. When it works, you raise your hands to God and you thank Him for His goodness. That's why I said we will sing of the goodness of the Lord, because God has been good to us. If you believe that, I want to hear you give the Lord a big shout today. He's been good to us. Come on, give Him a shout. He's been good to us. Come on, give Him a shout. He's been good to us. Come on, give Him a shout. He's been good to us. Give Him a shout. He's been good to us. Give Him a shout. He's been good to us.